Yeah, yeah. Hot topics from the soul, reaching all minds, turning knowledge into gold. Yeah, hot topics from the soul.
Hi, it's that time again. Hot Topics from the Soul. I'm Dr. Valerie Parker Hagan, and I have my co host,
Dr. J.R. Thicklin here, and I am so excited tonight. Our last Tuesday in the month of February, Black History Month. So many things happening this month. Our last Tuesday in this month that have contained not only Black History, President's Day, Valentine's Day, teen dating violence week. So we've had a lot in this month. And I'm excited because this month is ending on a high note, a good note. And I'm excited about these things here because we're facing realities, life as we know it. And we're not going to be asleep. And that's the thing about it. The old phrase, the new phrase that says stay woke.
Mm-hmm.
More than ever, we need to stay woke.
Yeah, we're in February, and so much is going on this year. Life as we know it is going to change. It's going to change drastically for some of us. And then some of us, it may not change at all. But for the most part, life as we know it will be changing. It's Black History Month, but we got to keep in mind we are the history. We will make history this year, 2024. We will make history. And that's why I said life as we know it will be changed. We've talked about relationships this month. We had so many people tap in. We talked about health and wellness.
Yes.
We did some powerful segments with Les Brown and John Garcia. And then Dr. Lavinia Allen talked about our history and things that she's 80 years old, and she talked about things that she remember as a child. We've come a long way, Dr. J, from the signs hanging saying that we couldn't drink at water fountains and we couldn't eat at certain restaurants and forget about staying in hotels. Oh no, that wasn't happening back in the day. But we've come so far, but yet we're stagnant in so many places because the mentality of our people has frozen in time. They have no appreciation for what was laid, the legacies that were led before us, for us to be able to arrive at this point where that we can simply be.
One of the things that I hear you saying, and I totally agree with, is the fact when we look at our history is rich. Our history is rich, and the fact that we are enjoying some of the liberties that we are today is because of the fact our forefathers, our ancestors, they understood the power of the collective. It wasn't about individual freedoms. It was about a collective freedom. And so one of the things that we watched then is that they refused to just sit down and watch life pass them by. They understood what affected one affected all. And as a result, we had that type of tenacity, that type of vigor, that type of vision, that type of activist type of spirit. Today, we've kind of grown a little bit complacent, and I would even dare say apathetic to a certain degree. Why? Because we're no longer thinking of a collective. We think about me, myself, and I. And as a result of it, the fabric of who we are has been somewhat weathered. So we now look at the fact where we're looking for fame, we're looking for just popularity, but we're not looking for power and purpose. And that was made us. That's what made the difference then. When you look at the Fannie Lou Hamers, listen, not necessarily, she wasn't no supermodel. She wasn't that type of person, but man, her vigor, her tenacity, her activism. And we look at so many of them of that day. Listen, many of them wasn't necessarily college grads. They wasn't necessarily any of those things. But what they had was vision and a hunger for change. And they recognized that until they stood up, that they had no reason to complain if they wasn't part of the solution. And that's what I think we're missing today, is the strength of recognizing the power of the collective. In other words, how we come together synergistically affected everything around us. And that's what must return, because Black history is not just what have happened to us, but every day is Black history.
Every day. Every day something is happening to us. Every single day. And, you know, we've taken it for granted. We've had men and women slain because of the color of their skin. And we take for granted what would the fight and the marches, the peaceful rallies that were done. You know, nobody talks about Black Lives Matter anymore. You know, they had marches and everything. This is so out of media, out of mind. But we're fighting every day, individual battles in our homes, on our jobs, in the schools, you know, even on the highway. I'd like watching this thing called Road Wars. And to tell you, Dr. J, some of the things that it just boggles me how people do things and think it's okay. They actually absolutely think it is okay. And it wasn't until a lot of people were openly exposed on social media till they bowed down and said, I'm sorry. But they were so arrogant and so bold in you know what they really believed to be true, because it was true to them, but it wasn't right. But because they were able to carry on shenanigans and they had a group of people with them to support them, they thought it was okay to act in the manner that they act against other individuals. And we are the people that must make a change. It has to begin in us. It has to begin. We've always had to work harder. We've always had to strive harder. So it's about us now to make history by throwing our hat in the ring.
Yeah, we have to.
Let us take positions in government. Let us take positions in government. Let us be at the forefront instead of us being on social media talking about our bodies and our clothes we got on. Let's make a change. Let's get there. I'm still so saddened that we don't have any better representation for the next president of the United States than what we have now. I am so disappointed.
Well, I'm disappointed as well, because what happens is this. The problem is that when we rest on the laurels of all the sacrifices that came before us, the problem is when we exhaust and we look at the opportunities that have been open for us, and we take it as an opportunity to reside to our luxuries and our own country clubs, if you would, and we forget about the fact that we have not realized the entire dream. We have not actualized the entire dream. And when we talk about, we still got marginalization going on. We're dealing with gentrification happening. We're seeing ourselves being marginalized out of things. We're watching the fact that in all actuality, we're seeing voter rights and voting suppression laws being passed right in front of our faces. And yet it's still, we've been lullabied to think that, well, my vote don't count anyway. It don't matter. That's exactly what they want you to think, because of the fact one of the greatest liberties that we have and the greater fundamental rights we have is the right to vote. Our vote is our voice. There's been blood, sweat, tears. People will be nearly to death for that right and privilege. And what we continue to say, well, my vote don't count. Yes, it does. If we don't learn from what we've come through, if we didn't see where our vote counted in 2020, then there's no hope. In other words, when I say 2020, when we look at the fact of here's an election that literally hung over, the incumbent president was defeated, and yet it was such a thing that he tried to make up a story that it was stolen. He tried to make up things that it was stolen. And the reality is the number bared it out. But here's the crazy thing about it. If people go to recline right about now and not have the same fervor and the same vigor to go out and make a difference, we're going to be in for a rude awakening, and life as we know it will not be the same. It will not be the same. Why? We seen with our own eyes anarchy. We seen with our own eyes here a man who held the seat as our president could not accept the fact Understand what I'm saying? The people's vote. That means he disrespected your voice. That meant that he said, hey, your voice don't matter because no, we're going to do what we're going to do. And that type of mentality led to what was nothing. You can't call it nothing other than insurrection. I watched that thing unfold on television, and I could not believe what I was witnessing in these United States of America. And let me say something to you. For the first time in history, we had a president who did not have a peaceful transfer of power to the next president. What does that tell us? That's the spirit of a dictator. That's the spirit of someone who thinks that they're above the law. And listen, this has nothing to do with my personal feelings about it. I'm saying a person who doesn't respect order, a person who doesn't respect the what? The vote, the voice of the people. And you dare give him another chance?
No, a person that doesn't respect people, period. When
Absolutely.
You can say, just speak a word and have somebody from your following attack the Speaker of the House, when you can have them attack the Vice President, when you speak out against someone on social media and people go to them, look them up and stalk them to kill them based on your word. And this is who you want back in office. No, I'm not happy with the choices we make that we have before us. I'm not happy about it in the least. But one thing I can say, if this person, this former president, is put back in office, everybody that opposed him and that are in that house right now in Congress, they are subject to being attacked just by him saying one word. No one will be safe. And this is what we fail to realize. When you resentment or hate against one, it's going to be against we'll all be moving targets. Because only thing you got to do, I remember when the incident happened with George Floyd, you know what he said? Well, I don't know. Maybe he did something to deserve it. How can you say that? And this same person said, if there was international war, we got people that are voting for him right now that are upset with what our current president is doing over in the Middle East. They're so upset about what he's not doing. And we have someone that's going in telling you, I don't care. I'm not going to be involved in none of that. All I'm going to worry about is what's here happening in the United States. So you think nothing is going on or going to happen now. Nothing will really happen when he gets in the office. All of that will be cut off. So you think you marching and you're going to be like, yeah, we're going to get somebody who's going to do something. He already said clearly, I care not. I care not. He owes over $100 million in lawsuits for things that he has been found guilty of. And we dare say we are going to vote and put him back. I got nephews and nieces that say, yeah, they're going to vote for him and put him in office. I said, life as you know it will be over. Just by one word spoken. You won't be able to drive down the street without somebody who's, an extremist will say, I'm doing this for the president. He gave the command to do it because that's what they said regarding the insurrection. He told us to do it. We were following orders.
Exactly. And he
also said everybody that was arrested will be set free. He's going to let them go free. Is that what we want? We want to have people like that patrolling our streets. I have children, I have grandchildren, and I'm very concerned.
One of the things we have to keep in mind as well is that, they don't teach civics in school like they used to. So many people don't even understand the Constitution. They haven't read the preamble to the Constitution. They haven't read the Bill of Rights. They don't know. But you know what?
No idea.
They have no idea. But one of the things I remember so distinctively growing up is when they talked about government of the people, for the people, and by the people. Now, what does that say? Of, for, and by. How can government be by the people if government is going to disregard the voice of the people? If government is going to say, I'm going to do it my way anyway, how can we have any faith in this Constitution inside of this democracy if the rules are not followed. If the rules, when we feel like we're above the law, let's be honest, if we're talking about government for, by, and other people, then how do you reconcile the fact that you have a man who have all of these criminal charges against him, things that have definitely been found guilty on, all of these things that are happening? Man, probably you talking about over 100 million, you talking about over 600 million. I mean, being awarded settlements because this is out of this world. Everything from sexual assault, inappropriate behavior, racketeering, all of these things there. And what happened to the moral conscience of America? What happened to the moral conscience of America when we would dare reelect someone? Listen, if any of us had those type of charges against us, we couldn't even get elected to be the dog catcher, the city dog catcher. And yet still we will afford, and once again, this has nothing to do with black or white. This has nothing to do with the fact of my personal feelings toward it. This is a matter of a principle. This is a matter of when you have someone who literally is calling on Russia to attack our allies. When you talk about someone who's sick in the dog whistle on basically
World War III.
Yeah, we're talking about someone that's a spirit of a dictator. It's a dictator. This is something inside that says, I am a ruler. I am an emperor. How do you know that? Because when you won't even obey the voice of the people who said, no, buddy, hit the road, Jack. We voted you out. And your thing is to make up lies and say it was stolen. And no matter what you did, it was proven that it wasn't stolen. And your last resort was to basically have an insurrection. Your last resort was to not have the dignity to break the tradition of this country. The dignity. One of the things that set America apart was that whole thing about the peaceful exchange of power, the transfer of power, the peaceful one. Unlike a king, unlike in other countries, but when we have that peaceful transfer of power, we've seen it for years. You know, from one president to another. I will never forget when the Bushes was leaving the White House and the Obamas came in. One of the beautiful scenes that you saw was this. Not only was there a peaceful transfer, but I still remember that picture of the Bush getting on Marine One and going off into the sunset as the Obamas took the White House. Even with President Obama transferred the piece of power to number 45. Listen, they still respected the vote of the people. And there was a peaceful transfer of power. We get to the 2020 election, and what do we get? We get a president who would even recognize the people's vote.
Not only that,
but refused to have a peaceful transfer of power. As a matter of fact, snarled at it. Didn't even show up at it. Literally, it was shameful. Put the vice president at the time in a position to try to save face.
And also jeopardize his life.
Exactly. And we really, how can we, the thing about it, will America choose greed and even what they perceive as finances or economic elevation? Will they choose that over our sense of dignity, what we were founded upon? What we're saying is this. We know that during those years, we saw race crimes at an all-time high. We saw all type of groups being emboldened because of the rhetoric that was often spewed by. And
COVID wouldn't have spiraled if the proper attention was given to it. Millions of lives were lost because he ignored the warnings. He ignored how great and massive this disease could have been and was. So, you know, I understand both sides. It was like, okay, we have all these illegals coming into the country and we're giving them money. We're top heavy. My thing is, we have them coming in and we have these young children exposed where they can be taken in and used for sex trafficking. because they're let in and they're pulled to and fro by people on our side, on the US, that are exploiting them. And then we also have those who don't have any, can't get a job because they don't have proper documentation. So what do? They start killing, they start stealing, they start doing things so that they can survive. So more crime is let in because of this. And then you have people that have been on the streets. We have our veterans who haven't been able to get proper housing, and then you have people that come in from outside the country and you take care of them better than you do our veterans. So yeah, there are two sides to everything, why people are feeling the way they're feeling regarding what's going on in our country. But the bottom line is your absent vote is voting.
Yes.
Your absent voting is voting. Yeah. And that is a problem. So what are you saying, Dr. Bell? I said we have to vote. We must vote. But be certain that in your vote, you're choosing the less of the two evils.
You are, because there is no perfect candidate here. I mean, there's some real concern, legitimate concern on both sides. And here's the thing about it. It would be so easy for us, in particular us, to say, well, we just need to return back to God. Well, that conversation has passed America a long time ago. Even if we still have in God we trust on our money, that's definitely not where our values are in terms of things. That's not where our value. And that's why I say there's a responsibility on everybody's part, because we are placing things above what we would call the betterment of the country and of each other. You talk about the fact of having children and grandchildren. Hey, we have that. We're at that stage. We got children and grandchildren. And what type of America will they face? I have been doing some research. I've done for many years, I've done this whole training about the intergenerational workplace, the different generations of workplace. But more recently, I've been doing a lot of study about the intersectionality of all these generations that are still here. Baby boomers. I'm the baby of the baby boomers. So we got the baby boomers out there. We have Generation X out there. We have the millennials out there. And we have Generation Z. Those are the ones that are out there active. Not to mention, of course, our alphas that are coming along. What type of world will they have if we don't stand up now? We've enjoyed better things because our foreparents, those were the ones who wasn't afraid to stand up. Those were the ones that sat there at that lunch counter and was spat upon because the fact that right is right if nobody does it, wrong is wrong if everyone does it. We must go back to that type of thing, and truly in God we trust. Where is the presence of today's really faith church community? Have we been reduced to just basically having nice services? Have we been reduced to having an alternative form of quote unquote Christian entertainment? Or where's the power that came from the church? The Bible declares that when it goes well with the righteous, the city rejoices. But if the righteous himself, and this is not scripture, this is my commentary on it. If the righteous himself can be so easily satisfied with just having a few dollars and quarters and cheese, and long as Lord, bless me, my two children, us four, no more. Listen, if we're satisfied with that, then we'll continue to get what we want. But when we stand up and understand that we have a charge to keep, that we have a charge, we have a responsibility to the next generation. We have a responsibility. Listen, it is crucial because life as we know it, hear what I'm about to say, it's changing anyway. But there are some prolific things that we're going to see happen if we don't begin to stand up on our principles, if we don't begin to stand up on our convictions, if we don't begin to stand up on the word, if we don't begin to stand up. Freedom is not the absence of boundaries. Folks, that's not what freedom is. It's not the absence of boundaries. Freedom is not the absence of boundaries. We have to be able to define where one's freedom ends and where another begins. But what we do know is this. At the end of the day, we have a responsibility to one another. We have a responsibility to the next generation. What will the future of our children be? Why is there an urgency to erase true history? Why is it an urgency to minimize really what the history of this country has been? I remember in going through one of our racial equity trainings, and it unfortunately said the fact that it's unfortunately that a well-told lie has more power than a weakened truth. That a dressed-up lie tend to have more power than a weak truth. Are we standing for truth? Do we believe in truth? Is it still about in God we trust? Is it still about the fact of how do we take our part? How do we stand up? Have we all become so relaxed? Where's the fight in us? Where's the stand for democracy? Where's the stand? It ain't over with yet, folks. It wasn't enough just to be able to attend school. It wasn't enough just to be able to drink from the same fountain. It wasn't enough just to be able to say I can eat at the same restaurant. It wasn't enough. Now we're talking about the things that affect everyday life, the quality of life. We're dealing with a day and time that we're still dealing with issues dealing with water and safety. We're still dealing with things like gentrification. We're still looking at the fact the rich getting richer and pushing folks out. We're still dealing with those type of situations. We're dealing still with inequity in pay. We're still dealing with the fact of so many inaccuracies and social despondence and disparities that are there. We're still dealing with health determinants that we need to address. There's an issue. And there's an old saying that says evil prevails when good men and women remain silent. Evil prevails when we remain silent. What will we do? Life as we know it. Life as we know it will change. Listen, you don't have to believe me. Look through history. Never have we seen a public official of any sort be able to have these type of marks against them, these type of, all these things here, and still be even considered to be worthy to be the president of the free world? Guys, are you kidding me?
Scary.
It's a scary thing.
Absolutely scary.
Where's the conscience of America? Where is it? Where is the soul of America? Is it all in the liberty of the freedom and protection behind the gated communities and defined dollars? Or do we have any type of concern for the next generation? That's where my concern. The next generation. You know, I said the other week, we have to understand this, is that our inheritance is what we have to leave, is what we leave. But our legacy is who we leave it to. Who are we leaving the legacy to? Who will continue on inside of the truth? You know, we used to sing that song, The Battle Hymn of Republic, and it would end with glory, glory, hallelujah. His truth is marching on.
His truth is marching on.
We have to ask ourselves the question, is the truth still being marched on? Where are the truth bearers? Where are the light carriers? Where is the drum majors for justice? And every one of us have a responsibility. Your vote is your voice. You owe it to yourself to be enlightened. You owe it to yourself to be empowered. You owe it to yourself to pass on facts, wisdom, and history. We don't get the luxury. Listen, don't allow the TV to be your children's teacher. You've got to have some part in this. Our destiny is not a matter of chance. It's a matter of choice. What will we choose?
Absolutely, Dr. J. As I said at the top of the show, we are our history.
Absolutely.
We are our history. And it begins with us. This generation begins with us. We have to be that voice crying in the wilderness to keep people focused on what is true. And what is true is we have to take care of our families. We have to work sun up to sundown like our parents used to be. They would work for pennies compared to what individuals are making for a salary right now.
Absolutely.
And they did it without murmuring and complaining. They were dedicated. And I find right now that some people aren't committed or dedicated to anything but themselves. Some don't even care about what their children are doing. They're so focused on them. it has to begin with us. We have to get back to the family. That's how our parents and our grandparents, nothing else mattered but the family.
Absolutely.
And they taught history. They talked about their mothers and their grandmothers and their aunts, and because they were significant to them.
Exactly.
They appreciated, they loved, they respected. But so many are not respecting the voices of the people that are sound. They rather listen to rhetoric and craziness. They must turn their hearts back to God and back to their families.
You know, there's a responsibility here, and it is so amazing. You know, Winston Churchill said this. He said, "We teach what we know, but we reproduce what we are."
Wow, that's powerful.
We teach what we know, but we reproduce what we are. And here's the thing, this, though we have had all those lessons from time past, we've had those lessons, but those lessons have not been perpetuated. Somewhere along the line, our voice became silent. Somewhere along the line, we wasn't sharing those oral traditions. We wasn't being reminded of where we come from. See, until I look backwards and understand where I've come from, I have no strength to guide me forward. In other words, there are victories behind us that we have not even captured. So though we got lessons, a lesson was taught to us, but we reproduce what we are. And that we become an apathetic people. We become a people who is lazy. We become a people that have become content too soon. And therefore, we need to be awakened. We need to be awakened to the fact that we still have responsibility. For years, I keep saying, where we are being called to is greater than where we're being called from. The reality is, are we answering the call? Are we answering the call of this modern generation? Are we answering the call? And we think we're answering the call, but we're not, because we're caught up with fame and popularity. Listen, I'm not hating on nobody's money, and I'm not hating on anyone. But I believe that to whom much is given, much is required. They're athletes, they're entertainers, they're celebrity. You are where you are. You're able to make the money that you make because of the blood, sweat, tears, sacrifice, and lives of those that came before you. They put their life on the line. Will you put your money on the line? Will you put your vote on the line? What will you do to contribute to the next generation? And so I'm not impressed by all the celebrity stuff. That means nothing to me if you're not helping create vehicles and avenues that will further the advancement of our people. What good it is. I mean, we ought to have a sense of pride about where we come. But at the end of the day, that's only just to be able to be a document. That's a document. That's a footprint of where we've been. We've got to ensure where we're going. Man, I don't care about how much you make. Nobody care about how much you know until they know how much you care. And listen, if you have the power to do good, this is scripture. If you have the power to do good and you do it not, come on. That's a problem. Don't tell me you're praying for me when you got the power to make a difference. And that's what we have to get back to.
Dr. J, we have lost our heart connection.
Yeah.
We need a heart conversion where love is restored. Yeah. And that's what we're missing right now. It's all about love. We don't love one another because we have a hard time loving ourselves.
And that becomes self-hatred, right? So it's amazing, you know, in this Valentine month, in this month, we love, and we all like pictures of Black love, right? The ideal of picture of Black love, and that's what Black love looked like. But let me say something to you. There's another picture of Black love. And that Black love is when we are willing to undergird each other. That Black love is when we understand the value of life, that we ain't out there killing each other. That Black love is the fact that when we understand that whenever the dollar in the lust for the dollar is more valuable than a brother or sister's life, whenever that Black love is that thing of recognizing the fact that, listen, I respect the blood that's already been shed, and I owe it to what? Pay it forward, to create a better picture, to create something better. We owe it to ourselves to do that, and we owe it to each other. You know, Dr. Val, I want to just take the time for those of you that are watching, those of you that may be watching by way of Facebook or any of those media, we welcome your comments. If you're hearing us today, put it in the comments. You know, hey, if you're agreeing with what you're hearing, put it there. If there's something you want to share, put it there, because, folks, listen, we're only as strong as our weakest link. We have a responsibility to transmit the message, to transfer the message. And I believe that there's a new message of today. We're not about, and I speak particularly to even the faith community and the Black leaders, we cannot be just about transactional leadership. We must be about transformational leadership. Not just transaction, not giving just to give, to say we did something. We must be about how do we put things in place that transform our lives, transform us. And we're transformed by the renewing of our mind and forgetting the former things.
Absolutely, Dr. J. You know, this has been a kind of a rough show here because we're being authentic and talking truths, and it's uncomfortable that we have to, you know, be the voice. You know, the word talks about cry loud and spare not, show our people their transition. And the house of Jacob, as I said, we are the house of Jacob. We are the valley. We are the people that must speak out. You know, I'm tired of, you know, we getting on TV and marching after something's already done when we could have prevented it.
Yeah.
You know, just like I had to tell my sons, when you get stopped by the police, make sure your hands stay on the steering wheel and don't mouth them back. You were raised, yes, ma'am, no, ma'am. That's the language you use. Yes, there are men and women just like us, but they're men with a gun and they got a badge.
Exactly.
So we have to train our children coming up. We have to train ourselves to be more powerful than what we are right now. Use our voice, use our knowledge, use our wisdom to empower individuals so that we can see the next level. This day, this next day in life as we know it, as the months are here to come, it is going to be frightening. I am speaking out, sending out warning right now. It's going to be rough out there. And we're going to have to pick a side. There's no doubt about it. We will have to pick her side.
Exactly. Our silence give consent. And that's the whole thing about it. You know, Dr. King says something that said, in the end, my friend, it won't be the voice of our enemy that won't remember us, but rather the silence of our friends. And when we're silent about things that should matter, when we are complacent about things that should matter, when we choose to isolate, withdraw about things that we should matter, then we must understand that we literally took the pen and we co-signed on it. Because truth will speak, it just simply needs a spokesperson. Truth will stand up, but it needs a spokesperson. Who is the spokesperson for truth? Listen, I believe this in this day and time, this hour that we live in, that there's a responsibility that we have. And that responsibility goes beyond just going into places of worship, singing, jumping, and shouting and dancing. But I believe this, that somehow or another, I am compelled to do something. I believe that when we understand our assignment, ain't nothing weak about Joshua. And not only did he win the battle of Jericho, but Joshua and the Gibeonite, when he went and defeated not only the Amorites and all those other people that was defeated, because of the fact there was a sense of leadership. The difference between Moses' leadership and Joshua's leadership was two different things. Moses got them there, if you would, out of bondage, got them across the Red Sea. But it was the Joshua that got them in the promised land and then began to go on and go forth and do what was needed. We have come through the civil rights part. We've done all those things. But now is the type of leadership that says we won't rest on our laurels. It is time to possess the land. It's time to possess the land. Listen, one affects all. One affects all.
Reaching all minds, turning knowledge into gold. Hot topics from
Absolutely. You know, the great philosopher Edmund Burke said that evil prevails when good men and women do nothing.
Absolutely.
So when we sit and we do nothing, like you said, it gives consent.
Yeah. We have co-signed.
And yes, some blood is going to be shed.
Yeah.
unfortunately.
Yeah.
And it doesn't necessarily mean that it's going to be shed because we're out there trying to do the right thing. It's because we are trying to protect ourselves, or that we're in our homes. I can't tell you how many times on my ring where it tells what's going on in the area, how many cars are being hijacked, stolen in the driveway, and these kids have guns, rifles, not just little pistols. They have rifles, walking in, trying to take your car, and have a gun, daring you to come out and stop them. But yet we want to defund the police.
You know, that type of thing is silly. You know, I recently did a community police relationship forum, and one of the things we were talking about was humanizing the badge. What does that mean? That at the end of the day, we've asked a lot of law enforcement. We really have. We've asked them to go out, not only to protect and to serve, but we expect them to be referees. We expect them to be counselors. We expect them to be all of those things, all in one breath, when the reality is that they are human beings as well. Now,
they are human beings.
They're human beings. Their life is on the line. You think about it. We've seen it when some of us have acted stupid and crazy when it comes to things. Even if you're going to be pulled over, going back to your point earlier, you don't win the battle on the side of the street. That's not where you want to fight that battle. No, comply. You fight that battle afterwards. You fight that battle in a court of law. You fight that battle. You got video footage. You got all those things. We see how powerful that goes.
Yeah, if you're gonna go down right.
Go down right. And that's the thing about it. Don't go down foolish because of the fact you acted crazy, you know, instead of complying. The reality is that we owe it to ourselves. We owe it to the next generation. We owe it. And I'm saying to you, I'm saying that all of us need to take part in not only making sure our voice count. Number two, we need to start just learning to actively care for people. What is our role? We're living in such a time now that everybody's looking to be liked. There's a like or whatever. And it's funny to me that the people that won't do nothing has nothing but criticism for those that are trying to do something. The people that won't bust a grape, that's an old term there, you will have criticism for those that are doing something. So what does that really say about you? You become nothing but a commentator. You commentate, but you won't participate. You commentate, but you won't stand up. You have commentary, but you will not join in. Baby, it's not about us competing against each other. It's about us completing each other. It's not competing. It's completing. If we stop comparing, then guess what? We can have a compassion to do some things, and we can make a difference. Life as we know it hinges on these things. Hinges on good decisions. Hinges on us being informed. Hinges on us being equipped. It hinges upon us being empowered. The thing about it, are we willing to take that next step? Are we going to sit back and just simply be entertained? We're going to wait for the other shoe to drop. Well, my challenge and our challenge to you today is that will you stand up? Will you speak out? Will you continue to promote that our voice is our vote?
Yeah, we got to have a heart conversion. It begins from the inside. I want to invite the individuals to come and support us by subscribing to our channel, Topics from the Soul. Thank you for tuning in.
Have a great one.
Yeah, hot topics from the soul, reaching all minds, turning knowledge into gold. Yeah, hot topics.